Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Golf Chat. I'm Brant. Thank you for being here and checking out the channel. Today, we've got another one of our everyday superheroes. And granted, I'm calling each of my kids an everyday superhero. And today, it happens to be my second oldest daughter, Sasha. So, Sasha,
Woohoo!
welcome to the channel. Glad to have you on here. Why don't you just share a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Dad. I'm happy to be here. So excited. My name is, yes, Sasha. I am 26 years old, almost. Gonna be 26 in like a few days. And I am originally from Ghana, and was adopted by my wonderful parents and family.
Heyo.
A few years ago, and I am currently attending college at BYU, Idaho. So it's cold right now here, and I'm dreading my decisions coming here, but it's all right.
Hey, I get it. A little bit different than Ghana for sure. Well, I'm super glad to have you here on the channel. We'll get headed over to the golf course, and just throughout, I'll be asking you some questions. We do have Daryl, who's our cameraman here again today. Daryl is my wife. Her name is actually Cheryl, but her golf name is Daryl. So she'll be the one recording us. So you're getting this from her perspective. She'll also be playing with us. So you'll see her hitting her ball, but she really won't be talking as we move along. So let's go ahead and head over to the course and we'll get things going here in Golf Chat. All right, Sasha. So here we are in lovely Venice. This is where we're going to start our game today. It's an 18-hole course here, like all of them in Walkabout Golf. We love doing our golfing in here. But in the introduction, you mentioned that you were born in Ghana, or that you're from Ghana. So why don't you talk a little bit about how long you lived in Ghana and what life was like before you joined our family?
So yes, I lived in Ghana, was born there, lived there for about, I would just say 11 years, or so. And I lived in a small village between, like a little bit higher than Kumasi. Lived with my parents, as far as I can remember. And then when I was around like 4 or 5, maybe, I was taken from my village to Accra, which is the capital of Ghana. And from what I can remember, it was for me to have a better opportunity with education, which turned into something different. But life was, when I left my home, it was more challenging than I expected, but I learned a lot about myself, about the world, even though I was in a small place. But yeah, I love Ghana. It'll always be my home. And everything that I learned from being in Ghana has made me what I am today. And so I'm proud to be Ghanaian. Yeah.
You are Sasha Fierce. Well, thanks for sharing. We'll talk a little bit more about your Ghana time here as we move through. But let's get started here on hole number one. So I'll go ahead and hit first, and we'll just see how we do here today. Okay, this one's a little bit trickier because you got a water fountain right in front of you, but that's all right. And if you beat me today, I will be super disappointed.
That's my lucky day. Oh, shoot.
Okay, that's all right. So with growing up in Ghana, what were some of your favorite foods?
Ooh, I have to say the first one has to be jollof rice. Jollof
What?
rice and jollof rice.
Jollof rice. Okay.
Yes,
You
which
wouldn't
is
you wouldn't think that I've been your dad for 15 years with me not understanding that you just said jollof rice. That's okay. All right, get up here and give that a hit. See if you can make it in.
okay. Ooh.
That was a nice color
Oh,
choice with
so close.
the pink club and the yellow ball. The ball matches your hat, so there's that. That's always nice.
Nice.
And it's not uncommon for Daryl to actually win when we do these things. She's quite the golfer. Yay! Good hit. You
Yay.
just completed your first hole in a long time here in Walkabout. All right, we'll head over to hole number 2. All right, Sasha. So, growing up in Africa, you were there for the first 11 years of your life. You mentioned you loved the rice. What was life like as a kid in Ghana? And you grew up at a school that was also an orphanage, so you had lots of different kids coming and going there. But what was that like? What are some of your memories?
I just remember, I mean, life was fun as far as having, a whole bunch of kids around my age to play with and do stuff with. But it was extremely chill. We didn't really think too far ahead of in the future of, what we wanted out of life. It was just the next hour, the next day, that was our concern, and thinking about what we wanted to, oh no, thinking about what we were, our next meal was going to be, or when it
Yeah,
was going to be, and but as far as just the kids, they're being friendly to each other, it was amazing. We had lots of fun. We always played hide and go seek because the moon always shined so brightly that it was bright enough to see even when it was dark, and we would just go play hide and seek in around the school compound and stuff, and it was really fun. Then there were other parts that were hard, as far as the owner of the school putting us to work and
sure.
feeling like we had to earn our stay there.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but
it's funny that you mentioned hide and seek. I've talked a little bit about you on the channel here and other videos that I filmed, and what we've talked about often as a family is, once you joined our family, it was like you were always a part of it. I don't remember a time when you weren't a part of our family. It's just you've always been here, and so I tell people that in heaven, Sasha was just the best one at hide and seek, and she said, "I'm gonna go hide. You guys here on the earth, you guys, good luck trying to find me." And granted, it took us 11 years, but we did finally find you, and
yep.
so I'm confident that now in the game of hide and seek, it's Dad 1, Sasha 0. So that's kind of fun. All
Yay.
right, let's go with hole number 2 here. This one has a little bit of an up and over, so you just give her, oh, that was too much mustard. But
Okay.
I think I got lucky. Yep, I stayed here on the green, so don't hit it as hard as I did, but you can give it a nice little poke here.
Okay.
Oh, or you can do that. That was pretty good. You stayed up on top
Ooh,
here.
it just needs to keep
That's okay.
going.
So when, as you're going, what you'll notice is if you hit down the hill, it's a slanted corner down there. So you try and hit it into that corner, and it's going to throw you over by the actual flag here a little bit more.
Okay.
And I did not hit my
Oh,
putt.
you missed.
That's all good. Okay, your turn. So not
Okay.
too hard because it's going to come down off that hill pretty quick. There you go. Doink. Good one. Let Daryl go here. Did you have like a best friend at the school?
Yes. I had a couple. Um, Let me see. There were people. There were. Ah, dang it! So
Watch the
close.
curse word. Just kidding.
There were.
Not a curse.
They were kids my age I think there's about three or four of them, and we didn't really hang out outside of school
Yeah, it's your turn to hit, by the way. Yeah, go ahead.
because they didn't live at the orphanage like I did, and so
Yeah.
we just the only time we ever saw each other was during the school, and then we would play at recess or break time and sat next to each other in class, but that was about it.
Okay.
Didn't really
All right.
develop a super strong friendship, but
Just a lot
they
of kids
were
that you got
what
to
I
hang out
had.
with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Okay. Okay. Here we are on hole number three. You're doing pretty good so far, Sasha. It's impressive for not having played in a while. I know it's tough to get a feel with some of these things. So you were at the orphanage, and I'll kind of skip ahead in the story a little bit. You didn't really necessarily know that you were there as an orphan. You thought you were going to school there, and then circumstances happened that we'll talk about later, and with your adoption. Um, but I think the first person from the family that you met was Karen, my sister, who had come out to the orphanage and was spent a little time there. She adopted her daughter from there. So you met Karen, and then mom went out with Karen one time for a visit, and we were actually in the process of adopting a couple of other girls from the school. And we learned after mom's first visit that they weren't able to be adopted. And I remember mom saying, "Well, that's okay. I know who we need to have join our family, and it was you." And so I'll let you maybe just share a little bit about that story. What were your first impressions when you met mom, and how did that conversation go where you talked to her about adoption as a
Yes.
10-year
So
old?
yeah, it's kind of interesting. I thought about this, and I've met a lot of different people, like people from Germany and from Utah, who come to like volunteer at the school and hang out with us and stuff. And I always wondered, like, why I never felt any kind of connection to anyone until I met mom. Like, I, even with Karen coming like the first time, I felt a little bit of a connection. It was just like later when I found out that, you were all family, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like, same family was like meant to be. But with mom, I just wanted to be around her. There was just something about her that just caught my attention, and she was like the first person that I just wanted to hang out with. I couldn't wait to be done with school at the end of the day and just, sit with her and just do whatever. But at the time, it was the other girls that you guys were adopting and not me. And so I felt like, oh, like I didn't want to overstep, but there was something just my soul just wanted to be around her. And I just remember when she was leaving, it was just like the saddest day of my life, and I didn't want her to leave. I just felt safe around her, and I don't know, out of nowhere, it just came out, and I just told her I wish she was my mom, and that is kind of where everything
Yeah.
started with that. And so, yeah,
Well, it
when
really
she
was
left,
such a
I just like cried. I just cried. I don't know if I told you
yeah,
that, but I just cried, and it was a sad day. But yeah.
yeah. Well, and is kind of the first part of the story leading up to us getting there, is we were living in Texas at the time, and we'd had your four siblings, and we just kind of had this feeling that we needed to adopt, that we had another child out there somewhere, and we needed to look through adoption. And so we'd looked a lot of the uh, uh, through a lot of places in Texas that help facilitate adoption, and just nothing felt right. And then I happened to be on a plane flying somewhere. I was in Chicago in the airport. I got a call from Karen, my sister, and she said, "Hey, I don't know if you know this, but we're getting ready to adopt a little girl from Ghana, and in order for her to be adopted, one of her sisters needs to be adopted, and we've been praying about what to do. And I just had this impression that I needed to call you and talk to you about this." And I said, "Well, it's so crazy that you call because we hadn't told anyone in our family that we were considering adoption just that day before the flight." And so I said, "This is crazy. We actually have been looking into adoption. Nothing has felt right." And then we got this call from her. And so instantly she got us out on the website for the orphanage, and we started looking, and we learned who the sisters were of the little girl that she was adopting, and we started down that process of the adoption. And that started with mom coming out for that first visit to meet them. And I was picking her up at the airport in San Antonio on her trip back, and I had just gotten the phone call as she was landing, and they said, "We're sorry, but they couldn't locate the father of the three girls to get the consent for them to be adopted, and so the adoption wasn't going to go through." And so when mom got in the car, I thought she was going to be crushed when I gave her the news. And when I told her, she said, "That's okay. I know who we need to adopt." And then she told the story about as she was leaving, you said, "I want you to be my mom." And probably the worst decision you'd ever made up until that point in your life. But it really was such a heaven guided and directed process for us to get to you through family, and then you feeling that connection there. And then we immediately called the adoption agency and said, "Here's what we want to do." And the process went very quickly. I think it was 9 months, almost 9 months to the day that mom got home that I came and picked you up. So we'll talk more about that process here in just a second. I'm going to go ahead and hit my tee shot here. Hopefully do something magical. Oh, that was close to magical.
Almost.
Yeah.
Man.
All right. You saw what I did, so go ahead and just give it a little tap. Get
I
on
did.
up here. Oh, here, I'll just show you again. Okay,
Oh
you can do that
man.
too. That's almost as good as what I did, just not at all as good as what I did. So it's okay. No big deal. If you played with us a little bit more, like the invitation's always open. We sure would love it if our beautiful Sasha would come and play with us in Walkabout, but she's always got other priorities, whether it's YouTube, watching, or whatever.
Watching. Oh
Yeah.
no.
Oh, that was another really, really good hit. I wish I had that shirt that said a bunch of words, and then when you read it one way, it said, "I'm lying." 'Cause that's what's happening right now. I'm kind of lying. All right, Sasha,
I
you got
tried.
this.
It's the
Tap it on.
candy canes.
Yeah.
That's not candy
It's a
canes.
light post, I think, or some sort of. Well, you really feather the onions on that one.
So
Get that
close.
power shot.
Oh,
Oh, good
I did not
miss.
mean
Yeah,
did
just
not mean to do that.
if you would have done that on your drive, that probably would have been better. Yeah, and it's just you now, so you just, pretend like you're playing. All right,
Oh yay.
hey.
Thank
Okay, good job.
goodness.
Well, that's hole number two. Let's get headed over to hole number three. Okay, so we're here on the fourth hole. So back to the conversation. So then mom got back, and then I scheduled the trip to come out and visit. So why don't you share your first impression? Like when I was coming back out, did you know that I was coming to see you? Like, did they talk to you about that? Did you know what was going on with the adoption, or was it just this other bald, chubby white guy showing up at the school? What did you know,
I
or what do you remember?
so I did not know that you were coming out for me. I think it was after you left that I was told.
Okay.
And it was again like when I saw you, it was like kind of the same impression. of a connection, and then I found out that you two were married, and I was like, oh my goodness, like this makes so much sense. And so I did not know until after you had left, and then I was, I think around the same time, like literally within weeks, I was told that another lady was going to adopt me, a German lady, and I just, oh, it was just
Nine.
not the, it was just not the right choice. I just knew right away that that was not meant to be, and
Yeah.
so I kind of fought against it a little bit, or just telling them no, like this is not the right person for me. And
Yeah.
then you'd come out, and then I was like, oh, this feels familiar, like being around you. And then you were just so kind to us, and I just remember you making us pancakes and stuff, and
Hmm.
then we would just eat that, which was more food than we had ever eaten whenever the Obronis came around. So
Yeah. Yeah. I get
so
it.
it was.
I remember that first visit, and I remember my first impressions of you. You were so quiet, like you didn't talk very much, and they set us up as the visitors. There was a room inside of the house, there, like the school compound, and in that room was just like a foam pad laying on the ground, and so I remember sleeping in there on the foam pad, and you would just come in and sleep on the hard concrete floor. Um, you just kind of put your arm under your head and you just sleep there on the floor, and a few of the other kids would come and stay in the room as well. But I just remember thinking, here's this sweet little cute child who just wants to be here next to me. And maybe it was because I had, candy or granola bars or something too. And you were like, he's fat, he's got food. So you knew you'd be safe there with that. But I just remember those thoughts of you um, being so quiet and sweet. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna
You got
try.
this.
Oh, that did not work out the way I had planned, but that's okay. Okay, Sasha,
Nice.
you are up.
Okay.
The goal is to try and stay a little bit to the left and not too hard, but get it
Okay.
off the stairs. That is almost good,
Oh,
but
that's
not
gonna be so
really.
much harder for me too.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's okay. Okay, Sasha, it's you.
Okay, my
Yeah, the
turn.
cameraman doesn't speak. Oh boy.
Oh,
Oh, okay, that's good. No, that works. And that's how you get a three. I remember too, and you can just listen. I remember that first time being at the orphanage and there being a bathroom in there, and it didn't have a door that locked. And Grandma, who lived there, she'd had a stroke, and so when she walked, she sort of shuffled her feet. And so whenever I was in there using the bathroom and I knew the door was unlocked, if I heard the shuffling feet coming up the hallway, I had to throw my feet up and put them on the door so that she wouldn't come in. That was scary. Okay. Okay, so I went home after that first trip. I spent a week there, went home, and then it was, like I said, about 9 months. We were going through all the adoption process stuff. There were lots of different things that we had to do, steps we had to go through in the US to be able to adopt from overseas. And then the call came that, hey, the adoption is finalized. We've got Sasha's visa. And actually, at that time, your name wasn't Sasha, your name was Vida, and so we called you Vida over there. So they said, Vida, the adoption process is done. The judge has approved everything. You can come and get her. So within like 3 days, I had jumped on a flight and got back to Ghana. Did they tell you ahead of me getting there that everything was finalized, or did you know that I was
I
coming to take you home?
I had
Or do you
no
remember that?
idea.
Yeah.
Nothing was ever communicated to me. Um, so I had no idea. All I knew was that you were gonna be my dad, and I was like, okay.
Like,
And
this is
that was
crazy.
it.
This is crazy. Yeah,
So yeah, nothing was ever communicated, um, which yeah.
that can be scary. Well, and I remember we get there, and there was another family there adopting from the orphanage, also from the U.S. I got you. She got her daughter. We actually went to Accra. We stayed in a hotel in Accra, and then went to visit the U.S. Embassy to get all the paperwork settled that we needed to do for me to be able to bring you home. And I remember getting up to the person that was helping us, and she looked at all the paperwork and she said, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to approve this." And I said, "What do you mean? Immigration has already approved it. What, I need you to just, we've got a flight coming in 2 days. I've got to be able to leave." And her response was, "Sir, I am the chief immigration officer here at the embassy in Ghana, and I am not approving this because I have questions." And I said, "Well, I need to know who your boss is." And so she went and got her boss, and he came out and he's like, "Look, hey, there's some questions here on the validity." I didn't know what any of the issues were. She didn't describe it. She just said she felt like something was off. And so I was in tears. We left there. I was just heartbroken, not knowing what was going to happen here. Ended up writing a letter or an email um, to the people at the embassy. And I actually, at the bottom of the email, I CC'd the U.S. ambassador to Ghana, even though I didn't have their email address. I just put CC and the ambassador's name and said, "This is ridiculous. We got approval. I flew over here. We were told everything was done. You need to just let me take my daughter home." And then all of our friends and family back home started praying to make sure that this would go through. And then, sure enough, that next morning, we got a call saying to come back in, that the visa was ready to be picked up, and met with the same lady again. I think she said maybe 2 words to me. She seemed a little bit upset, but she gave us the approval and sent us on our way. So it was a very scary experience, and I'll share a little bit more about the second half of that. But do you remember any of that? Do you remember that time in the embassy? Do you remember me being upset? Does it, or is it, were you just young enough that it didn't really mean much?
I do remember it because it impacted me in a way. So I just remember just sitting there. I feel like we were sitting there all day, waiting in a huge line, and then okay, I didn't understand exactly what was going on because I didn't speak English that well. But when we came out of the building, you were just in tears and I think on the phone with mom or
Mhm.
something, and that really had an impact on me because I was like that was like the first time I'd felt like love someone's else's tears for me,
Yeah.
and it made me a
Well, in
little bit
reality, it was
nervous.
more for me because I just wanted to get out of there. I'm just kidding. It
It
was
was for me.
it was totally for you. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like seeing you cry for the first time. I was like, oh my goodness, like this is serious. I might not be going back with
Yeah.
my dad, and he will have to drop me off at the school, and it's gonna be so awkward and all this stuff. And I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to go back. Um, I had already said all my goodbyes and was ready to dip.
To move
But
on. Yeah. I
yeah,
get it. Okay. Well, here we are, hole number 5. The par 3. The goal is just get it down here to the end a little bit, and
yeah.
hopefully it bounces back and gives you a shot on the hole, which I did not, but not quite as far as I made it down here is what you want to do. Um, while you're hitting, it was also interesting because once we did get that approval, and then uh, a day or two later, we were getting on the plane. I think that's going to be really good. A day or two later, we were headed to the airport to get on the plane, and I'm like, just get us out of here. Like, this is the one last hurdle. We just got to get through the airport. And we get to the airport, and they start searching all of the paperwork. We were with like the immigration or customs people there in Ghana. You can play your shot. And the lady's looking through all the paperwork, and she looks at me and she goes, "Sir, are you bringing this girl to America to be your wife? And I said, no, this is my daughter. I just adopted, we just adopted her. This is my daughter. She's not coming to be my wife. And she said, well, this paperwork is wrong. And I'm like, I didn't write up the paperwork. This is what was given to me. And she showed me the death certificate for your mom. And she said, well, look at this death certificate. Why does it say that her mother was a male? And I was like, I have no idea. Again, not my paperwork. I didn't do it. This is just what I was provided. And she then just quickly stamped the approval and said, go. And so I grabbed you. We got through security, and I'm like, we are running to the Delta Gate because I knew, or I thought it was like international territory at that point, and there was nothing that the people there could do to stop us. But it was a bit scary. Okay, so we got on the plane, and then it was obviously your first time on the plane, and I just remember watching your face because this was something new and big. And I also remember that when we left, as far as I can remember, the only thing that you had that was yours were the clothes that you were wearing. I don't recall there being anything else that you were able to take with you. Everything stayed at the orphanage. Do you have any memories from that flight, or
Yes.
what stands
So
out to you?
yeah, I do remember the flight all the way from when the guy asked if you were taking me to be your wife. I was like looking at him like, no, this is gonna be my dad. And yeah, we did run to um to where
The
we needed
gate.
to be. Yeah, and it was, but yeah, I just remember the first time being on the plane. I was just like this is so weird. I've never seen the world from that high up before, and just seeing Ghana is just kind of like the coast and stuff. Just kind of took my breath away, but it was. I was also ready um, to start this new chapter, and I just remember you had me sit by the window, even though it was like your seat technically, but you had me sit there
Mm.
just so I could watch. And then I just remember you just like holding my hands and just smiling so like brightly and just so happy, and um, you're just like, let's go home, and I was just like, yes,
Do
let's
you
go,
do
and
you
I was very
remember
quiet, but
do you remember the thing that you were afraid of about
the
the flight? Do you remember what I think it was somebody at the school told you um, about being good, or maybe it was the grandma. She told you to be good when you were in the U.S. because if you weren't, she was going to send witches over to
oh
get
yeah.
you and take you back to Ghana. So,
I
and
had
we were flying home on Halloween night. And so we were going to get to New York and on Halloween, and I thought, oh, here we go. We're going to get there, and somebody's going to be dressed up like a witch, and she's going
yeah.
to think that they're coming to take her. Anyway, I don't know
But
what to do.
yeah, I do kind of vaguely remember that because I was scared, and I was like, um, I
I
did
need to
have
be a good
nightmares
girl.
about that afterwards.
Yeah.
But the witches in Ghana versus the witches in America are very different. I wouldn't have noticed, but
Okay,
they're
that's good.
a lot more green and green
Yeah.
here than evil. Okay,
Okay.
but yeah.
All right, Daryl, why don't you go ahead and hit your shot? We're on the sixth hole. This is the par four. And a little bit of a tricky one here. You got to bank it off of this stone piece, get it down there at the bottom, and then hope you can get another shot here on it. Get up the other side. I love the detail here in these. Oh, that's a good way to do it. I love the detail here in this game. If you just look around, I mean, you've got the waterfalls that are going there. You've got the, I guess that's probably ivy or something growing on the walls. Just they do a great job with all the detail. Uh-oh, I think I'm in. Nope, I'll be safe. Okay. So you want to hit it down here, bank it off that corner piece. Kind of hard, not too hard. Get it just right. That was not right. Um, I understand this is a new sport for you, and that's okay. It's all you know.
Okay.
I think you can do this in 3 hits if you do it right. So hit that corner piece, or whatever you want to do. Actually, I won't tell you how to golf. You're a grown woman. Oh, that's not
Oh
right.
no.
Okay.
Oh no.
You want to try and hit like off of here, and then it'll bounce up the hill. So somewhere in here, or just miss
Oh.
the thing altogether. Um, now just hit it straight at this, like straight hit
I
into
think
this
I'm just
corner
in my
block.
head now.
Or actually, don't do that. You can just
Go.
hit up the hill on your own, like a big girl. Oh my. Okay, you're gonna
Wow.
go back to the beginning,
Wow.
and oh, look at that. This is a fabulous display.
I'm shook.
Just hit it straight.
Okay.
You got this. Get up. Get.
Oh,
That's it. Nice.
your turn. I know.
And I don't know if you have your shot. Oh, hey.
Oh,
I don't know if you have your. This is me talking in your backswing. That's probably my fault. It's. Oh yeah, shot limit. You hit your stroke limit. So.
I
So
think
that
it
is
only
good.
happens to me.
All right, so we get to New York, and I remember it was Halloween night, and the World Series was going on, and one or both of the New York teams were in the World Series. So a lot of the customs people had called in sick, and so there was only a few people that could process thousands of passengers flying in. Um, and so I remember we missed our flight that night to San Antonio, so we had to try and find a hotel in New York City to stay in that night, and they booked us on a new flight the next morning to Houston. And then you got to meet in person the first time. You got to meet your siblings. What do you remember about that? What's anything that sticks out when you think about meeting Ben, Madison, Morgan, and Carter for the first time?
Um, it was just kind of surreal. I was like, oh my goodness, these are gonna be my siblings forever now, and in a good way.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know, just they were just really nice. Seemed really excited to see me, and I was excited to see them. Putting faces to the names, and um, yeah, from there I feel like we just connected,
Well, you and
playing with
Morgan have
having.
been little buddies ever since. So
Yeah, she's my
it's not
twin.
been, yeah, it's been not been a
Um,
lot of time spent apart other than your mission, which we'll talk about here in a bit. But
yeah, but
um,
yeah.
did America seem like this is pretty different than what you grew
Uh-huh.
up seeing in Ghana? Was it overwhelming? Do you remember being overwhelming, or was it just
Um,
it's just
I just
life?
remember it being really cold,
Hmm.
and
Oh, oh yeah, that's true. It probably would have been in like the 70s in Texas at that time of year. You were used to like the hundreds and humid, so yeah,
yeah,
I get it.
yeah. I just remember it being really cold, and then just feeling like there were no, like just looking outside. There were, especially on our drive from Houston to San Antonio, there were like no leaves on the trees, and I was like, "Is this what it looks like all the time?" So I was used to green and stuff, but yeah, it was very different. The houses looked the same all around, and I was like, "How do you know which one is your house?" It's like, um,
Yeah.
but seemed organized, very, very different
Oh,
atmosphere.
that's
But
yeah, that's mom. Well, the house, our house being organized, but yeah, it is a little bit different the way
yeah,
traffic and everything else works.
yeah,
Okay, here we are, hole number
yeah.
7, par 4. Daryl, the cameraman's going first because she is currently uh, doing better on these holes than me. So this one's kind of fun, Sasha. You just have to hit it up off of this painting, try and throw it over the box there on the
Oh,
table, and land it back near the back. Just
okay.
darn near like that. That was perfect in schlag. And that was a little bit on the hard side. Oh, that is not pleasant. Okay, give it a ride. Oh, look. Oh, you went through it. That
Oh,
is a significantly better way to get over there. Nice
that was
hit.
a lucky shot.
Man, now I know what to do next. Here we go. Get a little. I just got to play it out. Get it into the fairway here. You knock this one in, Sasha. Get a 2. Come on. You
Okay.
got this. Tap it in. Look at
Ooh,
you.
yeah.
You got an
Eagle.
eagle. Okay. Oh boy. And I maybe can get this one. I think I got it. Yep. Got her. For a par. So we made it back home. You got to, I remember you walking around the house and kind of getting a feel for everything. I remember you also hoarding food. You would take food out of the pantry and go and hide it in your bed, I guess, assuming that at some point food was going to be an issue here, and but it wasn't. And then we went through the legal adoption process in the States. You became a part of our family. There's a really cool story when we had you sealed to us in the temple in Rexburg that we'll share another time. But then it was a couple of years, I think, or maybe a year after you got home, when out of the blue, we got a call from your parents in Ghana. And it was out of the blue, and it was a shocker because we had the death certificates for your parents. So we were told that both had been deceased, but both of your parents were still alive. Did you know that they were still alive, or had you been told that they were deceased? What had you been told?
So, again, I hadn't met my parents since I left. Um, from what I can remember, so I was like 4 or 5 years old,
Yeah.
and I was told that they had died in a car crash coming to visit me at the school after a few years. And even went as far as taking me to the place where they had been hit by a car, and there was like a whole memorial thing there for them. So in my mind, it was sealed that they had passed away. Like my parents had died, and I didn't know about my other family members, like my brothers and stuff, what had
Yeah.
happened to them, but just that my parents had died. And I had no way of, I guess, confirming that. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just remember being sad about that, and, came to terms with it. And so getting that call that they were still alive kind of made me, was shocking.
Yeah,
It
yeah. I
kind of
mean,
put me on a
your
whirlspin.
life had been a lie. You'd been told all these wrong things, and it was a shock to us. And then your parents don't speak English. You don't speak the language that they spoke. So we were really, I remember us being really leery. Like, is this legitimate? Like, how can this be? And then we were able to confirm through your uncle that it was actually your parents, and it sort of changed a lot of that dynamic, at least of what we knew about your past. Of course, it didn't change for us anything about your future. You were, at that point, not to be possessive, but you were ours at that point. The adoption had happened. You were part of our family legally and spiritually. You became a part of our family through the sealing, and we are very, very grateful for that. So, well, you're the first one to hit on this hole because you got an eagle.
Ooh.
So your goal is here. You just want to hit it straight down and try and make it in that hole. Don't go too far. Don't go to the right or to the left, or you drop down into that little cup place, and that can make life a little rougher.
Oh, no.
That's not bad. That's okay. You can still putt it 4 times from there.
Okay.
I'm going to try and show you how it's
All
done.
right.
I've had a hole in one on this hole one time.
Hmm.
Usually I leave it very short. This time, oh, not very short, but a little short. Almost
So
made it.
close.
Yeah. Okay. Tap this one in, Sasha.
Okay. Ooh.
Oh,
Oh,
that's close. That's good. You're going to get a
stay.
3 on this hole. There ain't nothing wrong with that. That putt's going to be a little shy for old Daryl there.
Woohoo.
Yay! You did it! So we learned this about your parents. That was a big shocker for us. You then started having some communication with your uncle, and you learned that you had some siblings. And I know there were some questions, obviously that you had. I remember at one point you sharing with another group of young women, like you knew you had siblings and your parents, you were told that they were dead, and now you learned that not only are they not dead, but they'd had more children after you, and you then questioning why you were you were the one that was adopted, and all of these things happened to you. Have you been able to come to any sort of inner peace with that? Have you gotten any answers that have soothed your soul as you've learned about this and have you know become a part of this new world here?
I won't say that I've gotten an answer exactly. Um, but with everything that has happened, I've had a lot of conversations with Heavenly Father through prayer and really let it all out to Him and pour my soul to Him about why, I had to go through what I went through. But the thing that keeps coming back to me, your impression was that you guys were meant to be my family. This was the plan. Um,
What's
this
the
was
plan?
the plan for me. And I think Heaven Father works in mysterious ways. And he uses mysterious means to accomplish his work. And I don't know what exactly that is with me. And the reason why I had to be separated from my family and join another one to accomplish this work. But I'm excited to see what it is.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, but
yeah,
I feel like it was just Heaven Father's plan. This is what it was meant to happen. So I
yeah.
am
I
satisfied with
agree.
that.
You've had a lot of opportunities that have come to you, and I think more will come in your life that are gonna probably allow you to see all the reasons why the Lord brought you here. So, all right, I'm gonna take my shot here. Ninth hole is a par three, and that's just about right. So
Okay.
you could hit a little harder than that, and it might bounce around and go into the center space and go in the hole. Or
Oh,
you can hit it right off the planet. Is
oh
another
no.
option to go with. It's usually less effective, but it's one that um, sometimes it has success.
Oh wait, I'm back at the beginning.
You do you. That's all anybody can ask. All right, let's see you do this. I think you got this. You just saw what Daryl did, and you're
Okay.
gonna try and mimic that, but just from the other side. Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that'll be good. So do you play much in VR, Sasha, or
I haven't
are you
played
you're too
much.
busy with other stuff?
Yeah, too busy with school to play a lot. But when I do, oh,
Boom.
that was sweet.
Yeah.
But when I do, I usually go and Beat Saber
Okay.
or
No, that's
the
good.
the spy one.
Yeah, get you some exercise. I get it.